Hey Thomas, remember that time the troublesome trucks made you crash into the back of Salty? And the fish went flying everywhere!
I do. Can't be worse than the time they collapsed the mine and nearly trapped you inside.
I'll never forgive them for that! Puh! Trucks! Could they get any more troublesome?
Oh, Percy, I'm nearly out of water. I'm just gonna go find the closest water tower. Just stay here, okay?
Alright! Troublesome trucks!
Hello there.
Oh!
Let us introduce ourselves. We are...
Yeah, troublesome trucks! You've caused lots of trouble and somehow are still on this island!
Oh, no, we are the musical trucks.
The musical trucks?
Yeah, the musical trucks. As you know, trucks have a bad reputation for being troublesome. The biggest misconception about trucks is that they're all the same. But we sing songs to prove that saying wrong. And when I say we sing songs, I don't mean songs that tease the engines. We think that there's a better way of getting out your anger than causing trouble. You can sing about it. In fact, let's sing a song now. Hit it!
Oh, no please, you don't have to really.
Hello and welcome to another fan-made spotlight. And yes, I know I have talked about this guy a lot, but that is just because he has made some wonderful content that I like talking about. But I'm going to be talking about other people, don't you worry. Let me know down below who you want me to talk about. Anyway, we're talking about Railmakes, Season 10, a season I would call his relaxed season. Since I only upload these once a year, I need to say how this works. I'm going to be going over the season kinda like the Unlucky Tug does for his retrospective and say what I like and don't like. So let's get started. Okay, so in this season, Thomas and Percy are off on a little railway show, and along the way, in every episode, they meet someone new or do something cool. Like in the first episode, they help save a circus. They meet the small engines, and they get their own little spotlight and meet some more friends along the way. It all ends with them making it to the show where they win awards and have a blast, and on the way home find a cool new traction engine that they will bring to the island of Sodor. And this reminds me a lot of Cars on the Road, which makes sense since he's a Cars fan, although I think this came up before Cars on the Road came out, or while it came out, I don't know. But I think he based it off of that, because some of these lines are pretty similar to the stuff that happens in the Cars universe, road thing, whatever you call it. I love how we get a break from the normal characters, and we get a whole crap ton of new characters. We get the small engines, a new traction engine, kinda new, not really, engines, and the frickin' mountain engines. Engines that I thought were long dead in any fan-made series. Thomas and Percy are cool to see too, because I think it's important if you're gonna be introducing a whole season of new characters to have some recognizable faces so people don't feel lost and discouraged from watching it. Because I know I've definitely had that happen in series where it's a bunch of new characters and none of the old ones are there. I kinda tend to lose interest. And the show does this too. In season 20, they had Thomas in different episodes, or different characters that we knew pair up with new characters, even if they weren't really new. That way the audience could learn who these characters are without feeling too out of place from the universe. And that's why I think it's really cool that he had Thomas and Percy do it. Also, they are like pretty good friends, and it's interesting to see their duo kind of shoved together and how that works. Because it also is nice to see that Percy isn't the scaredy shitty engine, and he's kind of a smart dude in this one. And he has some kind of funny moments. I like the funny side of the season, what he tried to go for. It's a really kind of funny season. Not to say that his other seasons aren't funny, but this season is just a very kind of funny season. It's not like trying to tell jokes or practical jokes like the show tried to do. It's more just subtle little things that he throws in that just makes me laugh.
Hey Thomas, what is that silly thing on your smoke box?
Teased Mike.
Trying to keep the sun out of your eyes?
I also like the characters. I think Percy and Thomas are a great choice, but I also like how Percy is not dumb. They feel like they belong in these stories. Like, Thomas and Percy really feel like friends for a long track trip. I like how they use small things from the show that we never thought would get brought up again, like the little railway show. That was such a small thing from season 24. That's what I have always loved about the series, is you can take the worst elements of a show, or the smallest elements of a show, and combine them together to make a great season, expanded on things we thought the show had long forgotten. And you can really make these small things or forgotten things a really cool. I just like how he didn't drag it on. It feels just the right amount of time. It doesn't feel like there's too little episodes, or it doesn't feel like there's too many episodes. It feels like a really nice, sweet point of stories that we got in the season. Because honestly, I think this could get tiring after a while if it's the same basic story over and over again, just meeting new people. So I like how he kind of just drug it out not too long. I also feel like there's not a lot of filler. I feel like most stories in this season have a place and reason of being there. And I like how he builds out the world more. It's a great season when it builds out the world and kind of expands on it. And you gotta remember, there was only 12 seasons, I'm pretty sure, made. And this is the 10th season, which is only 2 more seasons, which means that late in the game, still being able to expand the universe this thoroughly is honestly a really amazing trait, and I'm really glad we got to see it. I also like the sets. They look nice, and they're pretty simple, but they have a really nice feel to them. It reminds me a lot of season 1 of Thomas and Friends. Yes, there's not a lot of tracking shots, and they're not like the most elegant looking sets, but they have a nice home feel to them, and they don't look that bad. They look pretty decent. Like season 1, a lot of detail in the front, little kind of ish in the back, but just the right amount to make you feel kind of cozy. I know I keep bringing this up in every one of his videos, but I really love how he changes the faces. Not a lot of people do this, but it really brings the sets to life when the characters can change their expression based on what's going on. Because I do this, a lot of people do this, but when you don't change it, it really just makes it feel weird. Because the narrator described it, oh, he was so sad and upset, but then the dude's smiling. So having that change is a really nice touch. I also like how he's able to use different types of toys that are much bigger or smaller than each other, but make them blend in so well. Like this Flying Scotsman shot. Yes, Flying Scotsman is the wooden railway model and is huge, but he blends it in pretty well so it doesn't feel that out of place to the small take-and-play engines. I also love how he uses different toys and stuff to express different gauges and stuff. It just feels really nice. Okay, so this is part I don't like, but I feel it's important to tell the good and the bad to make it a true review. I feel like the story should have been longer. They all feel way too short and feel like a minute or 2 more could really have added to the story. Not to say that they were just lacking something, but I just feel a couple more could have added on. I also don't like the loose plot. While I love the new characters, the main plot in the Little Railway Show, and Thomas and Friends, I feel like some, not all, but some episodes really take away from that whole, we're going around on a big adventure to get to the Little Railway Show. Like, for instance, this Gordon episode. It is completely out of place in this season, and I honestly feel it would have been better if it was in a different season. Because there's just some things they kind of just take away. And it's kind of my same complaint with the Cars Adventures Off the Road thing. It's like, yes, you have this loose plot, and then you kind of just went and verged and did whatever, which is cool, but I feel like it could have been done just a tad bit better. Like, for instance, there's certain episodes that aren't even related to Thomas and Percy, and I feel like they are just kind of throwing Thomas and Percy into the stories sometimes. Not all, some stories really work with them, but like the Little Railway Engine story, Thomas is literally just there for like 10 seconds, and then it's a completely different story. I feel like they just kind of shove Thomas and Percy into certain plots that they just quite don't fit. Not saying that those episodes are bad, they're some of my favorite of the seasons, just they don't belong here. Because you gotta remember, this is supposed to be them on their way to the show. And while, yes, it kind of fits, I just feel like it could have been done better. I also think the last episode is a little weak. They spend the whole season building to it just for it to be over within 10 seconds. I would have loved a whole episode about it since we're building to it since the beginning of it. And I was very excited to get to the last episode to see it, just for it to be crushed about a completely different episode about bringing a traction engine back to the island. And while I love that they brought a new engine to the island, I felt like it could have been split into 2 different episodes. Maybe have the Little Railway Show be the second to last episode, and then have a completely different episode talking about that. Alright, so now we need to talk about my favorite episode. The reason this is not the best episode is because I feel while this is my favorite, it's not the best overall in storytelling or just general ideas. But I really do love the story, so that's why I gotta give it a shout out as my favorite episode. So what is my favorite episode? Well, it's Trucks. It's just funny. I love how they use the song. It fits so perfectly, and it has effects on the plot while making Percy not... And it even has an effect on the plot and storytelling because it makes Percy not hate trucks as much. I also love how it's just Percy. Thomas is nowhere around, which is nice. That's also why I used it in the opening to this video. My least favorite episode. Alright, so this is the worst episode, in my opinion. Now, I hate saying worst, because it's not a bad episode. I just feel it's the least best in this series. So what is my... Well, I would say it's Big Brother, as it's kind of boring and has nothing to do with the overall plot. I do like the darker tone at the start, but it just takes place in one spot and it just kind of explains everything during the episode. There's not a whole lot of moving around. It's kind of just Gordon and the Flying Scotsman in like a little working shed, and they just talk about it for 5 minutes. Now, while I love exposition and storytelling, I feel like he could have done this a little bit more creatively. But I just feel they could have put this in a different season, like maybe next season, because it feels really out of place in a season about Thomas and Percy. They appear for like 5 seconds and then are gone. I would have loved it if maybe they had moved this over and put another episode of Thomas and Percy exploring somewhere else, because that's really what the season was supposed to be about, is Thomas and Percy exploring. It's not a bad episode, and I really, like I said, I love the darker tone at the beginning, and I was really excited, but it just kind of falls flat for me personally. Okay, so what is the best episode out of all of them? Well, it's Journey to the Mainland. It's short, but I feel like it sets up the storyline for the season so well that even with its short runtime, we know everything we need to know about the Little Railway Show and the 2 main characters, all while not feeling boring and having a great, quick, overarching story, where they really kind of grow and you understand just how much these two are friends and appreciate one another. Thomas literally said he would give up going if Percy couldn't come. I also feel like it's a great start to the episode, or it's a great start to the season as well, because you could kind of just jump into the season and get all the information that you need about these 2 characters and what's happening without having to watch any of the other seasons, which is something I really enjoy. So, we're to the conclusion. This is the part where I just ramble on and just say crappy words like for the next 2 minutes. I really don't hate this season. I think it's a great relaxing season. I just think it could have been done a little bit better. I think it could have definitely have had a little bit, how do I want to say this? I think it could have had a little bit more stuff added to it to make it a little better. But what we have is a really nice relaxing season where we get to see some funny and just really kind of cool and creative ideas thrown out there. Now, while it's not perfect, it's definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen. I really do kind of like it. It's definitely a season that I like, and I definitely don't hate it. I just think they could have improved a couple things here and there, but overall, it's still a fairly decent season, one I would definitely recommend you go watch. I would definitely give it a good 7 out of 10, because it could improve some things here and there, but overall, the base idea, the plot, and the normal amount of stories that we get is fairly decent. So anyway, if you did enjoy this video, oh wait, there was one more thing I need to talk about. So the traction engine name, I think he named it Samantha, is actually a really cool model. I have no idea if he made it himself or where you would even get something like that, but it's actually a really cool character. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it was introduced a season or 2 before this, but that doesn't change the fact that I still think it's an overall cool character, and the fact that her and Trevor get along so greatly is just great. And I really like that at the end of the season, at the last second, they kind of brought this in as like a, hey, you know, this isn't just a one-off season that you can forget about. This is like has some ties. It has some important parts to play. And honestly, I think this character could get its own episode because it's a decent character. I think that there's nothing wrong with it. I like the character. I really do like the design. I really like the red especially. But her character is just kind of funny. And it almost feels like it's a replacement to Nia, because it feels like It's kind of Nia's story, but kind of better in a traction engine. And it gives something that we don't get to see a lot. Trevor doesn't get any episodes really to himself. So to get to see a newer side to Trevor and some of his other friends and adventures is really cool. But anyway, if you did enjoy this video, make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.